Welcome to EO Talks, Eastern Oregon's very own talk show, only here on EO Alive.
Thank you, Eastern Oregon, for tuning in to Eastern Oregon Alive Talks, or EO Talks, whatever you want to call it. This interview, man, it awesome. I reached out to Cody Bowen, who's our new sheriff, and I said, hey, I know that there's a guy that's replacing you at the high school as the resource officer. I want to interview him. I want to tell his story. Cody said, I got you, man. Like, let's do it. I reached out to this guy, and he got back to me, and this has been a project that I've been working on for, over a month. There was a corrupted file. There's all kinds of weird stuff that happened. I wanted this to be something special. I've had a lot of ideas when it came to this interview. I was going to throw a narration over the top. I had all these different ideas. And then today I'm sitting here finishing it. And I'm just like, you know what? I'm going to keep this as raw as possible. No narration over the top. Just this introduction and introduce you to your new LeGrand High School resource officer. He's an EOU grad. He played football there. He's steadily becoming a staple in this community and somebody for our kids to look up to. He's got his head screwed on right. He's ready to roll. He decided that he was willing to share with us parts of his life that, some people wouldn't be willing to share. And I appreciate that. And I'm sure you guys will appreciate it as well. We spent quite a bit of time together talking and recording and figuring out exactly what the vision was for this interview. And basically the vision ended up being it's raw. And he's willing to put himself out there and let everybody know kind of where he comes from and the reason why he's taking this job as the resource officer and what he feels like he has to give our community. Ladies and gentlemen, Justin Hernandez.
I'm Justin Hernandez. I work for Union County Sheriff's Office, and as of recently, I'm the new school resource officer for LeGrand School District. What drew me to law enforcement was growing up, my dad was a cop, and I got to see the impact that he had growing up on my friends' parents, my family, and me personally as well. But also, still to this day, I get to see the impact that he has had on kids and community members, coming up in the community that I'm from. I'm from Lapwai, Idaho. It's the Nez Perce Indian Reservation, which is about 13 miles south of Lewiston. What brought me to Eastern Oregon was a football scholarship at Eastern Oregon University. In 2013, I transferred from the University of Idaho, where I previously played football. Got an opportunity out here to play under Coach Camp. And in 2015, I was done with college, and once the pro circuit or my attempt at going pro didn't pan out, I wasn't NFL quality. I was definitely quality to, maybe bounce around the CFL, and I had some overseas scouts that were very interested. And, that posed a question to me, and that was, do I chase a dream, childhood dream of mine that I know may not pan out to be exactly what I thought it to be, or do I go to work and be a father and a husband to my wife? Because at that time we had Kingston in the oven, and he was getting ready to be there. And so once I made that decision to hang up the jersey and go to work for the family, I worked at Safeway. Well, I worked at the college, then I worked at Safeway, and then I worked at Nature's Pantry. And then I finally landed a job with the Union County Sheriff's Office as a reserve. I've always been interested in law enforcement. My dad was a cop. My dad was my school resource officer growing up. So I like the impact that he had on our community. I like the impact that he had on my friends. And I like the impact that he had on me personally, being in the schools with me every single day. So I was definitely interested in stepping into law enforcement. I didn't know how to get my foot in the door. And at the time, Boyd Rasmussen was a sheriff and had a reserve program. And so I applied to do that, and I got hired as a reserve while finishing my degree, working at Safeway, Nature's Pantry, and now being a sworn law enforcement officer in the reserve program. So I had 3 jobs at one point, and graduated college. And once I graduated college, I obviously was looking for full-time work. I love law enforcement. I fell in love with it. My first day on the job, I liked the fact that there's a lot of teamwork involved in law enforcement. There's camaraderie, and the Union County Sheriff's Office had that. And so that's what led me to pursue a career here in Union County, and especially within law enforcement. So once I graduated college and decided that that law enforcement was a career path I wanted to pursue, Boyd Rasmussen offered me a full-time job in corrections. So obviously I capitalized on that and took that. It was sad, but I was fortunate to be offered the opportunity to work full-time and start a career. I was sad to leave Safeway and Nature's Pantry. There's good people there, but I was looking forward to starting my own journey and my own path and following in my dad's footsteps in the law enforcement career. So I was hired full-time, and about 4 months later, Boyd Rasmussen promoted me to patrol. And I think I had about 2 weeks on patrol. It was like a ride-along phase before I went to the police academy. And the police academy was taxing on our family because at the time Kingston he actually just turned 1, and then I left that next week for the police academy. And the police academy was fun. I was eager to learn, so I capitalized on the opportunities that I had in the classroom. Police academy was 16 weeks. During that time, with the wife at home and my little man, I drove home every single weekend besides 2. And the 2 weekends that I didn't come home was for the midterm and the final. So it was taxing on the wife, it was taxing on me driving, pulling into the house Friday night at 11 o'clock, having Saturday to wash and do all my laundry, and then leaving Sunday morning to get back there and kind of, get into my routine. But it was a journey. It was a learning experience. It was a good time. I learned a lot about myself. My wife learned a lot about herself. And once I made it home, and after graduation, it was a blessing to be home. So at the police academy, I graduated in the top half of my class academically. I was fortunate enough to earn 2 out of the 3 awards. One was for defensive tactics, and the other one was for physical fitness. And I was actually fortunate enough to set a record at the academy, and it's called the Power Index test. And we all know what the combine is for NFL athletes, right? So if there was a combine for police, that's what the Power Index test is. It's a test to measure one's skill set and flexibility, speed, strength, stamina, endurance. And I was fortunate to put up some good numbers, and I have the overall record down there. And I want to give a shout out to my guy Kyle Whitty. He came in second place to me. So Union County has 2 of the most dynamic athletic cops in the entire state of Oregon. So once I got back from the academy, I had to complete the FTEP training program, which is basically, you go through with training officers, and you either foot the bill or you don't. And I passed, as some would say, with flying colors. And then again, right after that, I was on my way. I was assigned to be a deputy in Elgin, Oregon, and did that for approximately 2 years. Then once I was done with Elgin, I promoted or graduated or was then placed at a county patrol position. And from there, I worked there about 6 months. And then I was promoted to being an undercover narcotics detective for the Drug Task Force. But my approach to police work, it's simple. Whenever I encounter a situation, I want to successfully conquer at least one of 3 things. I want to either educate, I want to do preventative maintenance, or I need to be a consequence or enforcement. So educate, prevent, or enforce. And that's what my dad taught me at a young age. That's the goal of a police officer, is to do one of those 3 things. And I took that approach, and I still take that approach to this day. And with narcotics, I took that same approach. It was unfortunate that I had to deal with the people that this county pretends or may not know exist, and I spent a lot of time chasing those people. But one thing that I can say about my time in narcotics is that there was never an opportunity where I ever lied to anybody, treated anybody unfair, or was disrespectful. Everybody that I've put behind bars for selling drugs, I went to them prior to arresting them and prior to me starting an investigation on them and told them, hey, I know you're selling drugs and I need you to stop. And if you don't stop, I'm gonna have to intervene and I'm gonna build a case on you. And that's got me a lot of respect and rapport with that culture. And I've actually gained a lot of friends from that, and people I consider friends that have gotten out of that lifestyle and that are successful now. My passion is for drugs, enforcing drug laws and trying to change people that are affected by addiction. It's hit me personally. Drugs ultimately claimed my mom's life my junior year in college here. And I've also seen the devastation of drugs on my reservation back home. I've seen the destruction of it in our community here. And, you know, like I've touched on, the destruction that it's had on my family. So I'm passionate about drugs. I understand addiction on a different level than most cops would. After growing up with it and seeing my mom go through it and having, you know, other family members that suffered from addiction. And, you know, I took some, after I lost my mom in college, I took some classes about addiction because I want to know more about it. And I wanted to know why my mom couldn't quit doing drugs, because she was an amazing lady. But addiction's powerful, and so I want to learn more about it. So I took, I think, 3 or 4 college classes regarding addiction and educated myself. So I wanted to be the guy in between addiction and jail. I wanted to find a way to steer people away from jail and get them help and be a resource for them. And I think that I accomplished that goal for a few people. It's unfortunate with our new laws that didn't allow me to spend more time as a narcotics detective because of, you know, the new laws in Oregon. But the fortunate part about it is I can take that training and experience and implement it in the schools and implement it in the kids that suffer from addiction, or they grow up in homes and their current lifestyle is a byproduct of having parents that are addicted. So I think that training experience is going to be huge. And I think now that I'm in the school resource officer position, I've met my calling in life. I've met my calling in my career, and I'm looking forward to building relationships with these kids, and especially the kids that have experience or who suffer from addiction. And, you know, it's easy. You know, the good kids, those are the easy ones, right? I don't have a job as a school resource officer because of the stud athlete that's getting 4.0s and is being recruited by numerous schools. That's not why I have or why the school resource officer position was created. I'm looking forward to making connections with the kids that don't have stability in their life. They don't have a role model. They don't have structure. They don't have consistency. I'm looking forward to being that for these kids. And I'm looking forward to these kids coming to me and utilizing me as a resource and as an asset for them and on their behalf. School resource officer opportunity came about when Cody was running for sheriff, it was a thing. You know, there were people that were saying, hey man, I'm going to vote for you, but who's going to replace you? And so I heard a lot of that because, you know, through Cody's campaign, we became close. I was with him through a lot of it. And, you know, that question kept coming up. And I'll say this about Cody Bowen. We spent more time talking about who he was going to replace as a school resource officer position than him being the sheriff. And Cody takes this position very seriously. And I'm extremely humbled that I was chosen to do this opportunity or to be provided this opportunity as a school resource officer position, because prior to the Measure 110 passing, I told Cody, hey man, I want to work as a school resource officer position, and I want to be that guy, but now's not the time. I'm young, I got a lot of energy, I still want to chase dope. I was having a lot of fun doing that, chasing the worst of the worst, building drug cases. But when the Measure 110 came about, I was doing a lot of self-reflecting, and it's like, well, how can that just be taken away? This is the second time that drugs have been decriminalized as my time as a deputy, and I saw it coming. I mean, they slowly kept taking our tools away from us as drug cops. And in self-reflecting, it was, how can I continue my passion of helping people with addiction and still continue in my current line of work? Well, then it made sense that in the schools, drugs now and have been a problem in the schools. And so if I married those two up, I love the kids. I want to be there for the kids. Obviously, I wouldn't have put myself in this position if it wasn't for the kids, but I get to do both. And more importantly than just, be an enforcer of drug laws, I get to mentor these kids, and I get to create perspective with them because, some of them I dealt with their parents. Some of them know me because, I've been in their house after their parents. And so if I could blend those and say, hey, I've done this, I've been down this road, these are the type of people that are in this culture, and that's not a path that you want to go down. And I have a different experience with illegal narcotics as an officer, and then I have a personal experience with illegal narcotics and addiction and how it's affected my family. If I could take both of those perspectives and show the kids that and preach that, then, like we talked about, kids they're more, they're definitely vulnerable at that age, but they're easily influenced. And if they see, hopefully if they see a guy like me that's like, hey, this guy was a dope cop, and it's like, wow, his mom, died of a drug overdose, maybe they're going to believe me, and maybe I can get some teeth in. And I think that I'm going to have more of an impact on these kids telling them my story coming up than hearing it from teachers. And I'm not saying that teachers don't have a place in that world, but I definitely think they do. But if we can work together and preach the same message about drugs being bad, and they can bring it up in school, and I can bring up personal experiences as a drug cop, and then my personal experience before I had a badge, then I think we're all on the same mission. I think we're all on the same page, and we're going to be able to reach out to more kids and have a bigger effect than chasing dopers. I want to be a pillar of our community. I want to lead by example. I want to lead from the front and not by word of mouth. I want to be someone that people can look to in stressful times and come to for a resolution. I want to be a leader for my agency. I want to be a leader for the law enforcement community in LeGrand and in Northeast Oregon and in Oregon. And, I want to be a leader of our community someday. And, whatever that role is, I don't know. I've only been in this job for 5 years, so I don't know what the future holds, but I just know that I want to be an asset to the community. I want to be an asset to our youth and an asset to Union County. Humanizing the badge, it's hard to put into a sentence or an interview and the process that goes along with that. But it starts with being a human and letting these kids know that I was one of them at one point. I can understand, I can relate to them. I grew up and I was fortunate. My parents were divorced at a young age, and I had a dad who was a cop, and I had a mom who suffered from addiction and bounced from house to house. And I lived with my mom for some time, and so I knew what it was like to not know where I'm going to be staying this weekend when I go and visit my mom. I know what it's like to have to wake up every single day and get yourself up to go to school because my mom's ain't waking me up, so I have to do that myself. And then to go to school, I know what it's like to say, you know what, I'm not going to go to school today because it's the easy thing to do. I've been there. I've taken the wide road, which is the easy route. I was fortunate enough and very blessed to have a dad who's very structured, retired Marine, law enforcement, who explained it to me at a young age. The wide road, that's the easy way. Everybody goes that way. The road you want to go down is a narrow road, and the narrow road is doing what's not easy. And I've been on both of those roads, and I can tell you now that the best decision I made for myself was moving back with my dad. And I didn't have to. I mean, I had all the freedom I wanted as a middle school kid. My mom couldn't control me. I was young. I was reckless. I was like many of us were, and I didn't have the structure at the time, so I know what it's like, and I've pulled myself out of that. And so when it comes to humanizing the badge, it's just creating perspective for these kids, for them to know that, hey, I've been there. I know what it's like, whether it's problems at home. I've been there, high school drama with boyfriend, girlfriend. I've been there. Death in the family. I've been there. The most rewarding part of my job, and it actually happened last night. So, like I told you, my passion for helping people, my passion for wanting to be in law enforcement, my passion for working dope, it's to help people. And last night, I was invited to a drug treatment graduation from drug court. And these two girls that invited me, I chased around, and they were a project of mine. They played a role in our community. They were well known in our community. And through this investigation and dealing with these girls, I talked to mom, I talked to aunt, I talked to the parole and probation were involved, and the juvenile system was involved, and these girls hadn't even been in trouble yet. But the impact that drugs had on these two girls was overwhelming, and the support that they had, that was the overwhelming part, was the support they had. And they graduated drug court yesterday, and they invited me to go there. And when I went there, they said, both of them turned around and looked at me and said, thank you for what I did. And if it wasn't, for me and me being, in their rearview mirror every single night that I was working, that they wouldn't be where they are today. And I really appreciated that. And that's why I do my job, was for stories and moments like that. And it was definitely confirming to let me know that I'm not just beating my head on a wall sometime back when I was chasing dope, because there are many times when they're in jail and then they're out of jail before I'm even done with my paperwork. And last night was one of those confirming moments when I knew that maybe I'm doing something right, and maybe I am reaching out to people. And that was one example, one story. There's been a few of those, but that was the most recent one, and it was literally last night. My wife is my rock. She is the reason why I'm where I am today. I met my wife at a very low point in my life, and if it wasn't for my wife, I wouldn't be the man that I am today. And it's because of her that I am who I am. And I can't give enough credit to her, because she deals with me when I come home and I'm upset about this or upset about that. She's who I want to be for these kids. She's an ear when I need somebody to listen to what I have to say. She's a shoulder when I need somebody to cry on. And she's seen me at my worst. I mean, she's seen me. We've been through some things in our life, in terms of losing our daughter, and then my mom dying 20 days later. And she's been there through every step of the way with that, with me. And when somebody says that somebody's not replaceable, she's irreplaceable. Where do I see myself at the end of my career? I'm goal oriented, so I like to think immediate, intermediate, and then in the future. So my immediate goals right now are to establish myself as a school resource officer, establish working relationships with other entities that I'm going to be working with, and being a leader for the youth, being an educator, being structure for them, being somebody that's consistent, and also being a consequence if need be. Intermediate future, I see myself being a leader for my department, and for the future, I see myself being a leader for this community, and whatever role that is, I'll be ready to step up to the plate and handle it. If I saw another cop committing a crime, What would I do? That's not a tough question. Actually, what I would do is I would address the problem with the cop, and I would ask the cop, obviously, if he knew what he was doing and he knew it was wrong. And I'm assuming he would, because we're cops and we know the law. I would give that cop the opportunity to self-report and to turn himself in, and I would ask him respectfully not to put me in that position and have to do that for him, and I would hope that he would turn himself in. I'm an ear for you. I'm a shoulder for you to cry on. Give a lot of these kids my phone number. You can call me any time of the day, any time at night. I'm going to be there for you, and utilize me. You know, open up to me, and be honest to me, because I can't help you if you're not going to tell me exactly what you're going through. And so it comes down to just, you know, like I was working the streets, you know, the respect and the rapport. And once I get that with the kids, they're going to understand that, hey, Hernandez, he's a guy. You know, the badge, this is an occupation. I'm a dad, I'm a husband, I'm a nephew, I'm an uncle, I'm a brother, I'm a son. And, you know, the badge people, you know, put up here, but, you know, what they don't know is, you know, what's behind this badge is a heart. And that's the most important part, and that's what the kids need to see.